Okay guys, this week's not gone to plan, as frequently seems to happen. The transit was a bit of a killer yesterday, and there's a video coming on that soon. We have now got David's M5 back, but the temptation to get this gearbox apart is killing me. We weren't planning to do it this week, but I really want to get it apart, find out what's wrong with it, and then we can actually get some parts ordered. Well, that's what I'm thinking anyway. So we're not working on the M5. This video is going to be getting the gearbox apart, so let's get straight onto it. Now, I've never taken an entire gearbox apart before. This is the ZF5HP24. It is the 4.6 litre IS specific model. So it has got a few differences. The torque converter is different, it's slightly larger, and it's these milled down sections in the bell housing which allow for the bigger torque converter, and that is only on the 4.6 litre boxes. Now, basically, from what I've read online, these have an A clutch just in here. It's one of the first things that we'll take out, and it's normally that A clutch which fails, or there's an issue with the A clutch causing the symptoms that this gearbox has. So I'm just going to get straight into it. We'll try and take it apart. From what I can see, all of these bolts will take off the front housing. The ones I've watched come apart, the actual pump part, which is this first section here, normally comes off with the bell housing. So let's take that off and see how much mess we make on the floor again. Alrighty. Longer. Okay, so it seems all the new bolts are short bolts. Okay, so I don't know if the video caught that, but it did actually fall away a little bit. All right. Definitely should have disconnected the wiring first. Let's see if that's gonna... Hopefully that's gonna stay there. It looks like a 10mm that's holding the wiring plug on. Come on. Please don't fall off bell housing. God, that's a long bolt. Sorry you can't see, but it was just a wiring connector. Okay, so that is the bell housing and the pump. From what I can tell. And this should give us some information into what's failed. So I believe these bearings are quite prone to failing. And that seal, that doesn't look too bad. Unless the seal has completely disintegrated. Well, there's the problem. Bugger. Bugger. Okay, hopefully you can see that. Might have to switch cameras, but the bearing has completely failed and the rollers are loose inside there. So, that bearing there, now we need to hope and pray that we don't have any missing rollers. Holy crap. Let me get another rag. Switch to another camera. Okay, So if we just look in there, oh, I'm trying to hold it steady, sorry guys. That is a roller sitting down in there. And then we've got all of them there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to try and collect all of them and see if we're missing any, because if we are, we've got to take more of the gearbox apart. But if we aren't, we might be able to just repair that, replace, ooh, no. This bit is damaged. Okay. All right, so I've fished out all of the rollers that I could find sitting in here and down in the bottom there, and we're still missing at least 2 rollers. So that's not good. That means they've either been chewed up or they're inside the transmission somewhere. But I'm going to keep pulling it apart. I'm going to take this, I think this is the A and the B drum, I think. Please don't quote me on that, it's just from what I've read. But I should be able to pull that one out as well. So I'll try and get that one out. And there's also there's some O-rings apparently that commonly go on this part. The Teflon seals. Okay. Yeah, the seals, I'd say they still work, but, well, we got it apart. That's obviously something we can change pretty easily. I'm not sure if I want to pull any more apart at this point, because I'm pretty confident that washer or bearing, whatever it's called, seal is the problem. There's obviously some bushes in there which don't look that worn. Okay. Goes that way. What I am concerned about is this face here, and I think this section on the back, I hope you can see that, it's actually cracked. Well, it looks cracked. It might be supposed to be like that. I'm gonna have to do some research. I'll get some close-ups with a better camera. Before I show you a close-up of those damaged bits, I'm gonna take the A drum apart, which I think it's an A drum, and just see if there's anything particularly bad in here. Oh, oh. God. Yep. Okay. So we've got wear. I don't know what these proper pieces are. I'm going to try and stack this up so I don't get it wrong. But we have wear on that piece. And this, I believe, is the A drum. And we've got heaps of wear there, which is probably caused by that bearing failing, letting it move too much. But we've also got that bearing stuck in there. So the outer race of this bearing that's all fallen apart. So that's the one that I pieced all the rollers together. That sits in this surface here, and you can actually see that there is completely worn through. So I think we're going to need one of these, new bearing. I read about a common failure point being this, hopefully you can see. Yeah, a common failure point being this part of the drum, but that one's actually still good. That hasn't actually hit anything yet, but this is bad. Okay. All right, so I'm going to try and get this all in one take. I've sort of put it back together just so I can get my head around how it goes, because, I mean, you can only put it back together one way, but if I forget, it'll be a bit of a nightmare. Now, this is the furthest into the gearbox that I've gone at this point. And again, these O-rings and Teflon seals are prone to causing basically pressure issues. So while we're there, they should be relatively cheap. We'll try and get them. I might try and get a full trans rebuild kit, but I didn't really want to do that initially because it's about $600. Keep that bearing aside. Now that tube or piece I just showed you, that slides into this piece. No wear at this point. That bearing that's on the back of that is all good. But on the front of this clutch, I suppose it's a clutch drum, since it's got the clutch in it, there is wear here where the failed bearing has obviously been scoring that. Now, I don't think that's going to cause any pressure issues, but obviously I don't know how much material that has worn away. So what I may need to do is rework the shim stack, because there is a shim inside this drum which adjusts end float on the shaft. So that's something we can look into. Now this is the bearing I think that's done all the damage. I'm not sure what they're actually called. I'm going to have to do a lot of research and work this out. But that is the main bearing that's all sort of fallen apart. It's all there apart from 2, maybe 3 of the needles. So they are in the gearbox somewhere. They've either been chewed up or they might be sitting down in the pan. I might take the pan off later and see if I can find them. Now this is the main first drum, and at this point here, the only other bit I've got off is this massive circlip which holds it all together. So we'll take that piece off and plonk her down. Then this drum comes out the way I'm doing it anyway. This bearing's all good. Nothing wrong with that at all. But this drum has massive wear on it. And I think when this bearing goes, I hope that's in shot, the one that's missing the needles, that'll allow this part to move further forwards because it sits on this race here, and that's why we've worn these parts down. And again, that will affect end float, so I'm going to have to get a new one of these. And also in there, I think it's still got the bearing race in there, but it's really worn away. So I'm going to have to replace this piece and the bearing, the seals, at a minimum. But like I said, I'm going to have to do some more research. Never pulled a transmission apart before. It all seems, as the bearing just fell off, it all seems to sort of make sense. I can understand what's going on. And that bearing just fell out. You can tell it's good because none of the needles fell out. That just sits on there. All right, I'm going to put it back together because I don't want to lose anything, or even worse, forget how it goes together. Actually, yeah, that's going to stay on. So we'll put that one back in for now. Got to get to line up with the clutch plates, and I think that's about right. And this outer piece here, that is what this drum's been wearing on. I mean, you can see there's been contact. I assume they're designed to contact with each other. Yeah, although there is obvious wear there, it doesn't look too bad. All of the bushes, they're copper bushes, they all seem pretty good. Might look at replacing them. There's a bit of scoring on that one. Obviously, if these bushes are worn, you get leakage. Pressure leakage, I should say. Plonk that back in there. So that drum assembly is sort of back together, and I won't forget how it goes. So yeah, we've just got that bit, which I'm not going to put that bearing back on because it's all falling apart. But yeah, that's what's wrong with this transmission. Basically, that bearing has failed, which is making it lose pressure on the first clutch, or the A clutch. And it's the A clutch that controls 1st through to 4th. And that's why once it gets warm, there's not enough viscosity in the oil and it all bleeds out. And we get no drive. Well, we've worked it out. Could be an easy fix. Well, it would be an easy fix if I had the parts. But now I need to go and work out what part numbers I need and where to get them from. All right, I'm going to end it off there. But at least we know what's wrong with the X5 gearbox. I've got some more research to do. If anyone's rebuilt one of these in Australia, and knows where to get parts from, please let me know. That'd be great. Yeah, I've got some working out to do. All right, guys, thank you very much for following along. Really appreciate all the help that you guys do give in the comments. It's fucking amazing. And the guys that actually support the channel and the memberships, can't thank you guys enough. I really mean that. All right, we'll end it off there. Thank you very much. We'll catch you on the next one.